Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Perfectly Mentored. I'm your host, Jason Portnoy. My guest today is someone that I've kind of developed a relationship with over the past month and a half, and just watching his progress explode on social media has just been crazy. Chase runs an e-commerce email marketing agency, and since launching it, called Boundless Labs, in June 2018, he's helped clients send hundreds of millions of emails, resulting in over $35 million in email attributable revenue. A few clients, The Chive, Ibex, Original Grain, CrossNet, Namaste Technologies. He's also a new dad. Welcome, my good friend, Chase. How are you, man?
Jason, I'm doing great. Thank you. How are you? Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Well, when they hear this, I don't know if it's going to be a Friday or a Tuesday, but we'll call it. If you listen to it on Friday, happy Tuesday, happy Monday, happy Wednesday, whenever you're listening. Chase and I wish you a happy day. Look, let's get started here. How'd you get started in the whole email marketing game?
Yeah, so my story actually dates back to when I was, 14 years old. At the age of 13, I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease, and Crohn's disease is basically inflammation of your digestive tract. It's looped into this kind of category called IBD, which is inflammatory bowel disease. There's also ulcerative colitis and a few other things. And as a 13-year-old, I was diagnosed, and I spent about a year being sick. Really, the big reason I was sick for so long was lack of awareness of the disease. So today in the States, there's about 1.4 million people that have the disease. And more people know about it today. But back then, doctors, family members, friends knew nothing of it. So after spending a year being sick, I took it upon myself as a 14-year-old to learn guerrilla marketing, right? How could I get the word out to raise awareness for this disease? How could I get the word out to raise capital and fundraising for this disease? So, I was learning email marketing. I was on Messenger and all these AIM, all these things, right? Doing up flyers, calling friends on their house lines, right? I was doing anything I could to kind of guerrilla market and kind of hack this thing together. And over the course of a couple of years, we ended up, helping, hundreds, if not thousands of people kind of understand what the disease meant. And we also raised tens of thousands of dollars. So I really got my start with email and marketing and kind of growth at that early age. And then over the years, everything I did really was on the non-paid acquisition side. So I've never run an ad. I know it's probably hard for you to hear because that's all you do and you're really great at that. I hear you, man. So for me, I built my career really on non-paid acquisition, cold email being a massive channel, organic social being a massive channel, and then opt-in email. So throughout the course, I've acquired, north of 1 million subscribers from those efforts. And that's really how I got started with email.
Wow. Look, it's funny you called me a paid media marketer. Look, the truth is, and you and I kind of spoke about this a while back, is I think email is one of the most underrated parts of marketing. If we're talking e-commerce for a second, the only thing that makes me happier than return on ad spend is repeat customer rate and lifetime value. So I get really frustrated when people say email's dead or email marketing's dead. So two-parter for you. First part, is email marketing dead? Let's solve this once for all. And number two, why is it that it just doesn't get the glory of other marketing channels when it's free? We're not talking about putting tens of thousands or $100,000 into ad spend here, right? We're talking about free money.
Yeah, on part one, man, that headline drives me bonkers. I swear every year on January 2nd, January 3rd, all these massive publishers post this large article and piece about how email's dead, and they just want to, it's clickbait to me, right? At this point, it is so overdone, and people buy into it, which really is terrible, right? I think that's the massive problem, is that these people say it, so therefore it must be true. And I've really kind of gone on the stance of let's prove that it's wrong by really just putting the numbers out there that we're doing for our clients and having full transparency. And I think that piece has been really important to helping convince prospects and clients, and also other agencies and people in the space, that they shouldn't be sleeping on email. So email definitely is not dead. At this point, we're doing about $3 to $5 million a month in email revenue for our clients. And to the second point, it is so profitable, but for whatever reason, it's not sexy, right? There's no really massive names in email, right? You've got Ezra and you've got other people that have done a pretty good job becoming this cornerstone of the industry, but it's not you, Jason, and Nick Shackelford and the other people that have a lot of attention kind of in the media buying world. because that's what all everyone seems to care about. The clients that are smart enough to invest into email are the ones that are going to have so much more money to reinvest back into the top of the funnel, right? So it's almost like, oh, you guys are all obsessed with top of the funnel. Like, why don't you do this small email thing on the side? Why don't you convert subscribers and customers you already have, and they'll give you more money to go do whatever the heck you want to do.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to saying, right, in sales, what's the easier sale? The people who have already bought from you already,
Yes.
or trying to get new people to buy? So, I mean, what percentage would you say from an e-commerce point of view should revenue be attributed to email?
Yeah, so we have clients that have anywhere from literally 10% all the way up to like 60 or even 70% of their revenue coming from email. If I had to take the 35 or 40 clients that we're working with, on average, I'd say about 20 to 30% of these brands' revenue is coming from email. So, if you're at 5 or 10%, there's an opportunity for you to 2, 3, 4x your revenue from email. If you're at 20, 30%, don't settle, right? Like, how can you go from 20 or 30 to 40, right? So that's kind of my stance, my take is you should aim for 20 to 30, but don't settle once you get there.
So when people listening to this are like, okay, cool, I'm going to start emailing people now. It makes sense. It's free. It's like, I got them already. What are the mistakes you see people making? Because I'm pretty sure most people are going to go run emails and they're just not going to get that type of return, or returns aren't going to be as high. And they're going to be like, nah, told you email was dead. It doesn't work. So what are the mistakes you're seeing most people make?
So I think the biggest mistake, and I understand why people kind of get stuck on this, is they, in their mind, they think logically that sending to every single person on their list, whether that person signed up 10 years ago or yesterday, is the right move. And I could see why people think that, right? They think that if you hit the most number of people on your list, oh, therefore the most people are going to open, the most people are going to buy, right? That increases your chances. That's actually the wrong way of thinking about it. And that's probably why I'd say 90, 95% of companies have deliverability issues. And to explain deliverability, it's basically the number of emails that get delivered to the inbox, right? And the inbox is comprised of a primary folder. That's the best folder to be in. They have like the promotions folder, the social folder, and you've got the dreaded spam folder, right? So when you're just bashing and blasting to everyone on your list, there's a good chance that you're going to be in all those folders named, right? The best way to try to hit the primary inbox, and at the very least the promotions, is by sending emails to people that want to hear from you. So that's someone that's been engaged over a 30-day period, maybe a 60-day period, maybe a 90-day period. For every business, depending on how often and how frequently they send, that engage window changes. So for example, to kind of break that down further, Jason, if you had an e-commerce business and you were sending every single day, you might want to leverage a 30-day or a 45-day engage, because you've given people 30 chances or 45 chances to open and they haven't, right? So if they haven't opened or clicked or purchased, you want to stop sending to those people over that window of time. But Jason, if your business is sending maybe 2 times a week, maybe 3 times a week, maybe once a month, less frequently, you could expand that out to, a 90-day, a 120-day engage, because these people have had less chances to engage with you. So you want to give them enough time, right? Maybe in the month of May, right? For me, I just had a baby 5 weeks ago. Maybe for May, I wasn't a great email opener because I was consumed with something else. So if I only received 3 emails, you wouldn't want to prevent me from receiving them, right? So that's kind of how I think about the biggest mistake is batching and blasting to everyone, where in fact you should be sending to your engaged.
What about messaging? Does messaging change depending on where they fall into that list?
Yeah, so messaging throughout the whole customer life cycle, throughout whether they're engaged or not engaged, really differs. So you want to speak differently to someone that's a subscriber that's never purchased, as it compares to someone that's purchased already, right? So someone that hasn't purchased that's new to your list, you want to send them like a welcome series, maybe 3, 4, 5 emails over the course of a week or 2 weeks that really educates and nurtures them about your brand. Jason, why does the brand that you built matter? How are you different from competitors? What kind of quality standards do you take to ensure this product is the best? So you want to speak to someone that's new as if they're new. You kind of have to start from scratch. You have to start from day 0. Whereas if someone has made a purchase already, they already have enough confidence and trust in your brand already. So you want to move to, Jason, thank you so much for your purchase. This means so much to me. While you're waiting for your order, here's X, Y, and Z, right? These are the things that you should know, etc. So yeah, depending on whether someone's bought or not bought, we'll have different messaging. Depending on whether someone's engaged versus unengaged, you'll have different messaging. So engaged people, can be more casual, can kind of be more fun, more comedic. For people that aren't engaged, It's kind of like, hey, is something wrong? Is there anything we could do to help you? We'd hate to see you leave, right? It's kind of more of that like serious, kind of somber, more professional type thing. And again, you can have comedy there as well. But that's kind of at a high level how we think about that.
And so you talked about frequency for a second. What's the ideal frequency? How often should you be sending out emails?
For every brand, it's going to differ. And this is how we think about it. So on average, most of our clients were sending 2 to 3 campaigns per week. And to quickly kind of talk about campaigns versus automation.
That was going to be my next question, the difference between campaigns and flows, but yeah.
Awesome. So a campaign, think about it as like a manual broadcast, right? So Memorial Day here in the States is on Monday. So pushing a Memorial Day sale campaign, that's a broadcast to the list where we're telling people, hey, you should know about this sale. You might be interested in this sale. Whereas a flow or an email automation, those are all actions that take place based off of trigger or behavior. So someone visits your website, they see a pop-up or a flyout. If they take the action of entering their email, that will then trigger a welcome series, right? The welcome series is already built. It will send to people, day in and day out if they trigger that. Also, an abandoned cart is an automation email, right? If someone's on your list, they add to their cart, they didn't make a purchase, that will trigger that. So those are the two houses of email. So on the campaign side, most of our clients send 2 to 3 campaigns per week. And obviously the buckets of those campaign content change. But the way that we tell our clients and the way that we explain these campaigns is start with 1 per week. Start with 1, send 1, look at your open rates, right? Oh, great. Open rates are over 20%. They look good. Click through strong. Unsubscribes are low. Marked as spammers low. And customer support tickets are low. People aren't saying, hey, Jason, why'd you send me so many emails today, right? Why'd you send me so many emails this week? If that looks good, try a second email. Cool. Email 2 goes out. Same thing. Looks great. Send a third email. That third email, you start to see unsubscribes increase. You see marked as spam increase. If you see people saying, Jason, you sent me so many more emails this week than you had before. I don't like it. Then you know that your optimal emails per week is 2.
So it's almost testing. You kind of have to push the boundaries and touch the fence, right? Like you got to.
Yes.
So when you talk about the flows, I mean, hearing that, you could go, it could be scary for a brand, right? Especially one starting off with how deep you could possibly go. Like, oh man, I could just automate everything. I could spend 1 week building out 1 million different emails and just leave it on autopilot. So in order to not scare down and go that loop of like, oh, this person opened this email, they see that. Oh, but then they didn't open that one, they see this and start going down. What's the starting point? What's like look guys, take a deep breath. Here's where you should start with flows.
At the bare minimum, there's 3 flows I think every brand needs. And again, there's obviously a lot more over time, but these are the core that you should start with, right? This is the foundation. These are the bricks that you have to lay first. The first is the welcome series. Again, ideally you have 3, 4, maybe 5 emails, but at minimum, have 1 welcome email. Someone enters their email into a pop-up, a flyout, some kind of embedded subscription form. If you promise them 10% off or free shipping or content, make sure in that first email that you deliver on that, right? So people expect welcome emails. Every brand sends them. If you don't have them, your subscribers are going to be confused, like, did I sign up correctly? And you're also missing out on revenue. So the welcome series is definitely one of the 3 that you must have. Pretty common, pretty easy to do. The second is the abandoned checkout. So the other way that you acquire emails on your list is when someone starts their checkout, whether they buy or don't buy, if they filled out at least the first page, right? Name, email, address, you'll collect their email. So again, people abandon their checkout for multiple reasons. A few are maybe you didn't have free shipping. These consumers have been trained that typically in the email that comes, you're going to send a discount, right? So they're waiting to see if that happens. Or maybe they just got distracted, right? Like we all have so many other things going on. Like I get distracted all the time when I'm trying to make a purchase. So having that abandoned checkout email, again, 1 at minimum is mandatory. I like to have 3, sometimes even 4, but make sure you do 1. It's going to drive a lot of revenue. These people are the most engaged. They're furthest down the funnel. They're most likely to buy, right? It's not uncommon to see 5, 10, even sometimes 15% conversion rates on these emails. And then lastly, I think at the bare minimum, you have to have a customer thank you email. You should split it based off someone who's made a first-time purchase as well as someone that's made a repeat purchase. And the messaging is a little bit different, but you have to say thank you. That reduces buyer's remorse.
Like a welcome to the family versus good to see you again type thing?
Yes, exactly. That's at a super high level, that's perfect. And again, those reduce buyer's remorse. That increases the bond. So when you ask for that customer review and you ask for people to share, they're more inclined because you said thank you. It gives you the opportunity to express your gratitude and let them know like what that purchase did, right? This purchase helped us. If you have some kind of social enterprise or impact, right? This allowed us to donate X, Y, and Z to, A, B, and C, right? Or this means so much to us. We're a team of 5, we're focused on growth and doing this. You've allowed us to continue doing what we love. So at the bare minimum, those are the 3 flows I think every brand needs to have. And then from there, there's so much more and never is going to stop. But if you have those, you have the basic ones done.
By the way, I love that little value that you gave there. So like you're giving tons of value, but the value I took away from this is, so what I usually do is when I go shopping and I buy something, I'll go look at Facebook ads library and see if there's a discount anywhere in any of their ads. But if I don't see it, I'm like, oh, I'm going to buy it. Maybe a better way is be patient, add it to my cart, let go, see if I get an email in the next couple of days, and then buy it. I never even thought about the email part. So if you're listening, that's a good way to find out if there's a discount for you.
Yeah, so I can't speak for every brand, but typically the first kind of abandoned type email gets triggered within a couple hours of the action happening, right? For some of our clients, it can happen as soon as a half an hour or an hour later. And other brands, it typically is as long as maybe 4 hours later, right? So typically you're going to receive, or you should receive that first email pretty immediately, right? Like, if the wife or the kid or someone wants something, they could wait a few hours until I order, right? So I always wait then. Typically the second email, if you don't make a purchase on that first one, should come about 24 hours after that first email. So again, they didn't send a discount maybe in the first email. They know we're on to them. The next email, right? Then we're going to wait one more day and look for it. And after a couple of days, like you mentioned, if you don't get it and you want the thing, just make the purchase.
It's like the longer you wait, the better the discount comes. You just got to hold on and be okay waiting and being like, okay, they offered me 10%. Tomorrow it's going to be 25. I know it's coming.
Yeah, so in some clients that are willing to get a little bit creative with testing and kind of willing to be a little bit aggressive in some of these things, what we'll basically try is, either no discount or 10% off for like the first or second email. And then the last email where it's like, damn, we can't get these guys on no discount or 10% off. Let's make them an offer. Let's roll the dice. Let's see what's going to happen. And we'll literally call out like, we've increased your discount. We previously had offered you 10, now you're getting 20% off, right? But hey, this offer, it's only valid for 24 hours. Boom, countdown timer, 24 hours, time's clicking, get yours or never see this again, right? So that's kind of some things that we do and try.
Love it. So you talked about content, so campaign emails. So let's talk about content in there for a second, because I think abandoned cart and abandoned checkout and all those in the welcome series, content differs and your message differs. But for campaigns that you're sending out 1 or 2 per week, how do you do it without seeming so promotional, like the Banana Republic of 40% off every day? Like how can you add value in a campaign email?
Yeah, so there's typically 9 buckets of campaign content that we send and we try to rotate between. So when we're working with clients, we typically look at things at minimum, like on a 2-week sprint, and ideally at about a month lens. So that way we can kind of be like, all right, so for the month of May, Memorial Day was a big one, right? There's other things that happen this month. Those are for sure going to be staples. And typically with holiday emails, we use holiday itself as an anchor. And really what I mean by that is, so I'll go back to Mother's Day because that one was really fresh in my head. That campaign went really well. So typically before, everyone just sends like an email on Mother's Day saying, Happy Mother's Day, shop your offer, right? But Mother's Day and certain other holidays, Father's Day, Christmas, there's certain things that people really need and want to have the product in hand by the date. So what we did this year is we started way earlier, even earlier than we would have otherwise because of everything going on with coronavirus. And so in a month early, we basically said Mother's Day starts early. Shop our store. Here's this discount. Here's these offers. Here's this bundle, right? So that was email 1. That email did pretty well. People probably weren't even thinking about Mother's Day, but we were the first person out. So we had people's wallet share. Email 2 then went out a couple of days after that. Email basically saying, hey, Jason, the last day for guaranteed Mother's Day shipping is X day, right? You got 24 hours to do it. You've got a week to do it. Make sure you get your orders in. A reminder would go out, right, if it was a week. Hey, 24 hours left. Get your order in for guaranteed shipping. And then the last 2 emails that we would send. So the last email before Mother's Day, we would send basically was for clients that had some kind of gift card. Like, hey, if you're anything like us, procrastination is a real thing. 24 hours till Mother's Day, 48 hours till Mother's Day. Get your mom the gift of, insert company's gift card. We know she'll love it. This will save your butt. Here you go. You're welcome. And then what we would do is just, hey, Mother's Day's here. Thank you so much for all the moms in the community. Happy Mother's Day. Hope you guys have a great day, right? So that's really kind of how we think about, at least for holidays, using it as an anchor. Sometimes we might say Mother's Day has been extended. Here's a discount. In that case, it wouldn't really work as much, just because, again, it's really around making sure your mom has that gift on that special day. So that's one way that we approach holidays. And those are very, to your point, promo kind of sales related, hitting on urgency, maybe limited supplies, things like that. But we're also doing a lot of like nurturing and education. So blog content, and different kind of social proof, those types of things. So a lot of our clients will create really high quality blogs, or they'll create video series, and we'll just basically put kind of a snippet and a blurb within an email that gives these people enough information where they're intrigued that they're going to want to click through to the blog, or they're going to want to click through to YouTube. And for us, the whole goal is to transport people from email to the website. If they're on your website, they might, see a product throughout something and get distracted and make a purchase, right? They might share an article or a video with a friend because it's super high quality, which will lead to then new people being aware of your business. And at the end of the day, like, we want to stay top of mind, and we wanted to add value. So blog content, education content is also a big bucket.
And I love that, because I think if you're looking at it from an email perspective, if someone is reading your blog post and they're clicking on video series, they're a very different audience than someone who just clicks on your Memorial Day sale or your Mother's Day sale and does it that way. You're creating brand ambassadors and loyalists that way, right?
And it's great for what you do on top of the funnel, right? If I could get people to the blog page and to the landing page, these things, that allows you to retarget people creatively and get people back in the funnel, right? Because people that have expressed, so my thoughts are like, people that join your email list typically are joining for some kind of offer. They want to learn more. And the more touch points that you have, right? An email to a blog post, an ad, right? Drives people back to the site. That site, someone looks at a product, that then drives an email, right? You have all these different things that are working in tandem to drive someone to be like, all right, I feel comfortable enough consciously or subconsciously that I can make this purchase. So we're just looking for ways to add value and drive people to the site, and get them familiar and comfortable, right? Like, if we could get them to the site a few times a week, a few times a month, then it becomes safe. It becomes familiar, right?
And it's super important, because if you look at, you've dealt with a lot of 7-figure plus brands. The difference between them and those that think small, it's not all about immediate results or immediate purchase. It's playing the long game. It's understanding the journey a customer takes versus a lot of the newbies or a lot of new brands that come out. And I get it, they need to be profitable, but they come out and be like, I need an instant transaction. I need an instant ROI. And the game's just played a little bit differently than with 7-figure brands. Do you agree?
Yeah, so I'd say a bulk of our clients are 7 or 8-figure brands. We do have a few smaller 6-figure brands, but I'd say probably 70 or 80% of our brands do 7 to 8 figures in annual revenue. And they're focused on longevity. They're focused on sustainability, right? So they're not trying to get rich quick. Not that the 6-figure brands are trying to get rich quick, but they're really focused on producing the content and adding the value, because they know the sales are going to come, right? They've been around the block. They've seen what has happened. So they're willing to invest in it, and they're willing to be patient.
People talk about text versus images in emails, and you have the email marketers who sit there and say, no images, only text. Text is what goes through. And then you have people who are like, no, it's all about making your email super pretty with like high-end emails. I'm sure you get into brands that think the same way too, or you get a brand who's like, no, I don't want just a text email. I want my thing to look nice. So let's kind of settle this. You work with 7, 8-figure brands. Does it matter, text versus images?
Dude, it's so crazy. Like, on that point, like, I talk to industry peers, I talk to brands, and people are either in the camp of it has to always be image-based, right? It always has to be beautiful HTML designed emails, or it has to be plain text. I feel like there really is a great middle ground, and we really do take that approach. And I just feel like no one tends to agree with us. Like, everyone is so adamant about being right that they ignore a lot of opportunity to be creative with both. I would say with the brands that we work with, probably about 75% of the emails are beautifully designed, are image-based. But there are times and places where I think plain text is the way to go, and you have to do it. So, for example, like a customer thank you email, right? An email from the founder, an email from the community manager. that's a great opportunity to A/B test, have a beautifully designed email, and also A/B test a super simple plain text email, maybe someone's signature at the bottom. It feels more personal, right? So I think customer thank you is a really great place to split test it, to try it, see what happens. The abandoned cart, the abandoned checkout, the browse abandonment, right? Some of these flows, I think, emails 1, 2, 3, right? However, the first few emails, do the beautiful designs, go for that. The last email, if someone doesn't make a purchase, could be from you, Jason. Like, hey, I know my team sent you a few emails over the past week. I noticed you didn't purchase. I just wanted to reach out to see if there's any questions that my team or I could answer, right? Hit reply, let us know. We'll follow back up with you as soon as we can, right? Another really great use case and example of a plain text test, right? So for us, we're trying to always break down these barriers with our clients that not everything has to look beautiful, right? We want to be genuine and raw and real as much as we can. So yeah, for us, it's a hybrid. Again, 75% of the time, it is nicely looking emails, and that's why people work with us. But as often as we can, we are pushing for plain text.
Do you find there's a difference in deliverability between text or images, and that's why a lot of people tend to lean more towards the text because it gets through a lot easier?
Yes and no. Like, I have noticed that there are times when we'll send plain text that it will inbox better. That being said, like, there are so many other variables to account for that I don't think people give enough credit for. One is like, who are you sending to? Like, are you sending like to engage people or not engage people, right? Like, if you're sending to not engage people, your results across the board are going to probably be pretty bad. And if you happen to send a plain text email and it's better, people will be like, oh, I solved it. This is the solution. But it's like, you should really focus on the things that are going to move the needle irrespective of that, right? So I think that's one. And then two, I think you have to be testing, right? Like, I think people will run one test and think that one test is indicative of like what they should be doing for forever, right? Like, always be testing, because what worked last week, why not work in a month, right? And it's so strange for us. Like, we're email experts. We're really good at what we do. But with brand A, everything that we know that works will work. With brand B, everything that we think is going to work doesn't work, right? So we really do treat every brand a little bit differently, right? We come at it the approach of, most of the time we are successful, but there's always learning for every single person. And if you're not learning, I don't think you're doing the right things.
Love it. What advice do you have for brands that just, they're finding most of their emails get pushed into spam, or Gmail's just the deliverability on Gmail is super low? What advice do you have, or tactics to get out of there?
Yeah, there's definitely no like silver bullet or no like easy hack. A couple of things are like, look at your authentication, right? Like, are your emails, approved to be coming and sent from you, right? There's like the DMARC and the SPF records, and there's all these like records that you have to make sure are lined up and authenticated and proper, right? That's one. But two, at the end of the day, like, it's easier to stay out of spam than it is to get in spam and get out, right? It's always better to be preventative and proactive versus reactive, right? It is a lot harder to get out of the spam versus preventing yourself from getting in. But if you are in the spam, again, like, it is a long game. It's a little bit painfully slow, but you just have to narrow down your list and really focus on the people that are engaged and send to them consistently. Aim for a 20% open rate on campaigns. Your flow emails should be a lot higher, right? It's not uncommon for your flow emails to hit 30, 40, 50, 60%, right? And use that as a benchmark. So for example, we were working with this men's kind of grooming, this beard type company, and they were hitting, dude, like 5 to 7% open rates, which is just absolutely atrocious. And when you look at their numbers and you run the deliverability reports and you see what's happening, you can see that like them for so long just bashing and blasting really killed their sender reputation. And we spent probably 2 or 3 months literally just sending to people that were 30-day engaged. When it was slow, right? Month 1, we went from like a 5 or a 7% to like a 9%. Month 2, we went from like a 9% to like a 12%. Month 3, we went from 12 to 15. And now we're consistently hitting 20, 25, 30%. So granted, the list is more narrow, but they're focused on, again, longevity. By having people that actually are receiving your emails and open your emails will allow you to scale your business. So don't think about email as like, this has to work today and overnight. It really, like anything else, deserves time and attention and focus.
So what are the benchmarks that a brand should look at? Like, what's a good open rate and a good click-through rate?
Yeah, so again, like, it really differs based off of campaigns versus flows. On the campaign side, if you have 10% or lower open rates, something is wrong. Like you really should try to figure out what's happening. If you have 10% to 20% open rates, you're doing okay, but there's a lot of room for improvement. And if you have 20% open rates on campaigns or higher, you're doing great, but don't settle at 20, right? Oh, I get 20, cool, I'm done, right? No, aim for 25, aim for 30, right? How can you keep increasing? Again, on the welcome series, on some of these abandoned checkout and the customer thank you, like it's not unsurprising for our brands to be seeing 50, 60, 70% open rates at times. The click-through for some of those emails could be 3%, 5%, 10%, even sometimes 15%, right? Depending on the brand. Like some brands we work with just have literally like, they're like a cult. If this brand was like, hey, we're starting an in-person cult, I guarantee they'd have hundreds, if not thousands of people joining, right? So these cult-like followings, obviously their click-throughs are through the roof. But I think like on average, right, like in a automated email, a flow email, 3, 5, 7% isn't uncommon.
Rank this in order of importance to you.
Okay.
The subject line, the creative, and then the offer / call to action.
That's a great question. So, So I think the open rate at the end of the day is extremely important, because if you could get people to open your emails, then the other things are just a matter of optimizing, right? However, when I say that, don't just try to get people to open your emails to get them to open your emails because I said that's the best thing, right? You have to actually
like your $1 million check inside.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, use your stimulus check on this, right? Like,
yeah.
but yeah, so I think the open rate.
It's a great subject line, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. We did notice, I'm on a tangent now, but we did notice like right around the first times of these stimulus checks in the States being issued that there was an increase in revenue around those days and those weeks. So hopefully they keep sending them because our brands are loving it.
Yeah.
Again, that's a whole other topic.
So subject line number 1 for you.
Yeah, I think subject line is really important, right? Because getting people to open your emails hopefully also means that you're in the inbox, right? Because you could have the best content, the best copy, and the best things in the world, but if you're in the spam folder and no one's opening it, to me it doesn't really matter, right? I feel like I just wasted so much time. And the subject line to me is probably the easiest thing to write and create, right? It's going to take you a lot less time to do and develop. So if you could nail that first, you give people the chance to interact and engage. And if you could get people to interact and engage, now you have data coming through, right? What do people like? What don't people like? What are they clicking on? Where are they clicking? What does that look like? Are they opening on mobile? Are they opening on desktop? So for me, being able to get people to open the email is the biggest thing, because it allows me insights into all these other things happening that allow me to optimize the other things. So the other question was creative and offer. Is that correct?
Creative and then offer / call to action. Yeah.
I'm going to go with 2, the call to action or offer. Because again, like there are emails that like some of our clients were sending before working with us that look like garbage, but yet they were driving revenue, right? And they'll come to us because they want to really clean up house, and there's obviously other things that they weren't doing as well. Like it just blows my mind that based off sometimes the call to action and the offer, that people could drive revenue. And again, like, some people could have literally been doing like buy one, get one free, right? And that offer is so compelling. It's like, I don't care what your email looks like, I'm going to buy. So I'd rank that as 2. And then I really do believe creative is important. I don't think it gets enough credit, but that's going to be the lowest on my list, because at the end of the day, hire a designer, look at reallygoodemails.com, like look at your inbox. Like that's probably the easiest thing to change.
Which is really funny, because the order you gave is exact order that I would put. Yet I would find that most clients have that order completely reversed in the amount of time spent on each of those things.
Oh, 100% agree.
Like they don't spend enough time trying to craft a really good offer. They don't spend enough time trying to craft a really good subject line. They'll like spend months preparing the creative, then be like, okay, here's the offer, or like a quick offer, then months preparing the creative, and then just be like, all right, subject line, Happy Memorial Day, right? And just be like, all right, cool.
Yeah. No, it's crazy. I completely agree. And other than just the subject line, in terms of getting people to open, there's 3 or 4 variables that we look at. 1 being the most important is the subject line. We talked about that. 2 is the from name, right? Is the from name familiar? Is it interesting? So sometimes we'll even do, like, for example, if your e-commerce business was just Jason, we might literally put like sale at Jason, right? Or like blog at Jason, or we might do something kind of creative like Chubbies, I think, is a little bit extreme in what they do, but if you follow the brand Chubbies, their from name is always creative and crazy and wild, right? But the from name's important. It's not the most important, but it's important. The preview text or the pre-header text. So again, from left to right in your inbox, you've got the from name, you've got the subject line, and then you see a little snippet of text. A lot of brands don't optimize that. They don't know that you can optimize that. Sometimes it literally will pull, if they have just an image email, the very bottom that says like unsubscribe, and I'll have like a brand's name, and I'll have like their address. It's like, what the heck? That looks like garbage. So we'll use that to kind of play with the subject line to get people enough insight and information and intrigue that gets them to open it, right? So those are the three things that you could really do. Again, a little bit out of your hands is where you land. If you land in the inbox, which we talked about, the promotions, that does have an impact on opens. Those are the things that we're looking at and trying to optimize for to drive opens.
All right, so people are listening, they're buying in. They may be a small company just starting. How can they grow their list? How have you seen your successful brands grow their list even more?
Yeah, so a lot of what we do transparently is really dependent on strong top of the funnel, right? It's really dependent on strong Facebook ads, Instagram ads, SEO, influencers, affiliates, however you drive traffic. So there's a couple ways on our end that we're kind of middle to the bottom of the funnel that we collect emails. We've talked about this a little bit, but it's subscription form. So someone comes to your website, they're not already on your list, they'll see a pop-up, they'll see a flyout. Maybe at the bottom you have like an embedded subscription form. Maybe in a blog post you have that, right? That's one way. That's pretty easy, pretty low-hanging fruit. I'd say these are just based off what I've seen before clients start working with us. I would guess maybe people have maybe 2 to 4, maybe 3 to 5% conversion on their form. So every 100 people that hit their site, maybe they're collecting 3 emails. I'd say after working with us for a couple of weeks, our first iteration or second iteration, maybe we're hitting like a 6 to 8% conversion. And then over time, like some of our best ones are literally acquiring 10, 12, 14% of the traffic to emails, right? So for every 100 people that visit our site, we might get 10 people actually giving us their email. That's really powerful. So that's one. The second way that brands acquire emails is, as mentioned before, at checkout. So if someone enters their address, their name, their email, their phone number, they press next, maybe they don't add their payment and that's why they abandoned it. We will collect their email through that mechanism, right? That'll drop people straight into the abandoned checkout flow. So those two, I think, are the most straightforward. Other ways that our brands acquire emails are through like referral or ambassador programs. So whether you use Referral Candy, Swell, Smile, right? There's a whole laundry list of these tools. They're all fairly decent. Incentivizing people on your list to share with their friends and family is another way. So it's like the whole Uber, Lyft, Postmates model, right? Jason, I'm on Postmates. I want free $10 code. So I'm going to give you a free $10 code. And when you use your $10, that activates my $10, right? So brands can give people points, dollars off, percentage off, those types of things. That's another. And then kind of the last big one and the main one that people do is giveaways, whether they're doing giveaways by themselves or they're doing giveaways with partners. Depending on the brand, depending on how you craft a giveaway, giveaways could be a massive hit or they could be a massive miss, right? If brands are working with other brands to do giveaways that are not aligned, that don't have the same customer, that are offering free airfare and travel when their product's not even related to that, that's a missed opportunity. If brands have really high, purchase prices, or if they have really high AOVs, sometimes giveaways can be hard, right? Because it's really tough to get someone from someone else's list on your list to buy a $500 watch, right? It's pretty hard. We've seen giveaways work really, really well with impulse purchases. So products maybe that are $50, $40 or less, right? Maybe like a Swell water bottle, right? Maybe like a $30 necklace, like things that don't require a lot of thought and effort on kind of the consumer. A lot of research isn't required. It's not like I'm selling you a grill. Those things do work well.
What about opt-ins, right? So, you have the pop-up. What seem to be the best opt-ins? Or I guess I'm asking you, you've seen a lot of things. What's the most creative opt-in offer you've seen? Or is it just as simple as like, look, discount is always going to be your best offer?
Yeah, discounts work pretty well. Most of the time, we're just doing like a standard 10% off, and that seems to do pretty well. Other brands are offering free shipping that don't want to do discounts or are offering some kind of like be the first to know kind of VIP type thing. Other clients are moving to like weekly or monthly giveaways themselves. Like hey, we're giving away a watch every month for people that subscribe. So those are kind of the most common. I'd say that the discount of the 10% off, if you're willing to do it as a brand, seems to work the best. I think people expect it. It's not a huge discount. It doesn't really cheapen your brand all that much. I think the brands that are trying to offer 30 or 40 or 50% on the pop-ups are just like, dude, what are you doing? Like, that doesn't make any sense, because they're always going to expect that discount later. And then, believe it or not, like, for brands that really care about their brand equity, this is not a good fit. But those spin a wheel, those Wheelio, those things, like, dude, it blows my mind that, like, for clients that are willing to do and want to do those, that those still convert.
Yeah, I've seen major conferences do it.
It's crazy,
and it works. Platform of choice. I mean, I know what you're gonna answer, but for listeners listening, do they have to start with Klaviyo? Is that I know that's your favorite, but I mean, is it just as simple as invest in it and go do it?
So again, like, I'm probably biased. We only use Klaviyo. I don't even know how to say it. I've been using them for years. I wish I did know. That's probably
no one does. I don't even think they know.
Yeah, exactly. I personally like it. Here's the reason, and this is why, to your point, I think you should invest into it early. It's more expensive than MailChimp and some of the others, but it's so easy just to stay on a platform once you're there, right? Once you're comfortable, you're familiar, you build trust, build reputation. It is so much easier to stay on the platform versus having to switch to it later, right? Like, if you know your end goal is to be on Klaviyo, you might as well start there. Make your life easy. Not that migration from one platform to another is like crazy hard or it's rocket science, but it is delicate. Like, you do have to do certain things. It does take time. So
especially if you're building a major list off the other platform, right? Like, if you're coming in with 100 people versus 250,000, it's a little bit different.
Oh, hands down, right? So I think a lot of people that are just starting out find something like MailChimp, and if you plan to stay small and this is going to be more like a small business and mom and pop shop, I don't think there's any problem with MailChimp. But if you're really looking to scale your e-commerce business, I think Klaviyo is the place to be. It has a lot more reporting. It has a lot more testing capabilities, and it just really integrates nicely with Shopify. And Shopify and MailChimp broke up. I don't know if it was 10 months ago, 12 months ago, but there's no longer a direct integration. So yeah, for me, I personally use Klaviyo. But if people have experience with other platforms, whether it's ActiveCampaign or Bronto or something else, and they're comfortable with that, at the end of the day, like, you have to use the platform that you're going to benefit from.
And the only thing I'd add to that is invest in the platform you want to grow into, right? Like, if you're going to use those platforms because you absolutely love it and great and can handle your growth, then fine, stay with it, like Chase is saying. But if you're thinking like, hey, I'm just, I make a few $1,000s a month, but I eventually want to grow, and that's the plan, and I'm investing all this money into growth, then start now and grow into it.
Yeah, it's just one less headache for you to deal with later, right? Because if you believe that you're going to do it and you're working towards accomplishing it, you're gonna make it happen, right? You're gonna be there eventually. Might as well make your life easy and not have to worry about that later.
For the people not listening, it doesn't matter what we're going to tell them. But for the people listening and watching, and if they're not in e-commerce, I know e-commerce is your bread and butter, but what translates over? Like, what are the top things that you see e-commerce brands doing that translate to non-e-commerce brands?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think at the end of the day, right, like, focusing on the engaged segment, that's, transferable across any business, any sector, right? Focus on the people that want to hear from you. While for some businesses, you might not have the abandoned checkout, let's say, having automations and flows for people at different stages is really important, right? I think email is a really great channel for conversion, but it's also a really great channel to stay top of mind, right? So think about what kind of content and things that you could send. So that way, whether someone's a customer for your SaaS business or whether it's for your media company, whatever it might be, that you're always on people's minds, right? That you're always adding value. Because again, by doing those things, you're providing, help to your customers, and they're going to provide help back through sharing, talking about you, continuing to use you, those types of things. So I know that was kind of high level and broad, but like, having enough content that you have content for everyone, depending on where they are in the customer journey, is really important. I think most people are so focused on pre-purchase, or they're so focused on post-purchase, and they're not really looking at it as a full funnel.
Love it. We'll end here. For people who are just getting started, I want you to give your best stuff here. Or I'm going to pull out the best from you, the golden nuggets, the tips. They're getting started. What are the 3 tips that you have for them as must-dos, like the 3 things that you could give them in order to see their email skyrocket?
Yeah, so breaking it down to the bare minimum, again, it's focusing on those 3 flows that we mentioned, right? If your e-commerce does those 3, if you're SaaS or something else, find 2 or 3 things that you know your customers are expecting. Have that done. That should take you a couple days. Doesn't have to be perfect. Getting something live for those touch points is way better than not having anything at all, right? I think that's 1. I think 2 is sending people relevant content at least once a week. So do at least 1 campaign per week, right? Send someone something, a blog post that you made a year ago that's still relevant today. Record like a customer conversation, send them that, right? A testimonial, send them something, right? Just do something. That's going to drive more than you were doing before if you have nothing. And then I think the last one, and it kind of relates to those 2, and everything that you do as a brand, like be authentic, be genuine, be trustworthy. Again, like people could really sense when brands mean well or when they're kind of just faking it and trying to have their own interests in mind. So I don't know if that's helpful, but having enough content on the automation side that people who are expecting things receive it, sending 1 campaign per week so that way people are aware of you and kind of have a chance to interact and engage. And in both those things and everything else that you do, just be a great person, right? Give others and treat others like you want to be treated on the receiving end. We're all owners. We're all consumers, right? It's crazy to me, like when I go on brands and like I think a different way as a consumer than I do as a brand owner. So I think those are kind of high level things that I would recommend.
You'll understand once I give him his opportunity to plug himself in a second why it's almost impossible to pull out secrets from him, because dude gives everything away for free anyway. It's like there's like for me to ask him, okay, what hidden secrets do you have that are working right now? He'd be like, read my Twitter feed. Like
Yeah.
that's all they are right now. So you understand, like when I was probing him there's not much he could get that he hasn't already given away, and he'd be more than happy to share with you. So for the people who want to learn more, how can they find you?
No, I appreciate that. So yeah, Twitter for me has been something I've been obsessed about. I'm probably way too many years late to the game, but I'm really enjoying it.
You should be a Twitter growth hacker. With the guy comes late into the game, it surpasses me in like a week in followers, and I'm on there for like since 2009, trying to grow out there. He comes in and surpasses me in a week, and I think you're great in email, but I think you really should find your niche in Twitter.
I appreciate that, man. Maybe I'll pivot, and the next time we talk, I'll be doing a conversation about Twitter.
I love it.
Yeah, Twitter is great. My handle is ecom, so ECOM, and then Chase Diamond, no A in Diamond. So ecom, Chase Diamond, no A in Diamond. So I appreciate that.
I'll put it in the show notes.
Thank you.
Chase, thank you so much for doing this. Really appreciate your time. I know you're swamped with a newborn, but thank you so much for doing this.
Dude, my pleasure. I really enjoyed this. And thank you guys for everyone that listened. I really appreciate it.